Hello and welcome to Top Hat Chat live with me, Street and Orb. Today on the channel is episode 19 of the Great Gaming Debate, where we are going to be discussing where the Google Stadia ranks in the greatest gaming flops in history.
Yes. I mean, the Stadia's had a hell of a first little weekend of being available so far.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting watching people talk about it and discuss it, and people uploading YouTube videos, and yeah, interesting.
I mean, I don't actually obviously own one because I'm not an idiot.
Yes, yeah.
Not blowing my own horn here, but I saw this coming from a mile away when I saw the launch titles that they said were coming and the whole idea behind the console. It's a brave step. Yeah. It's a really awesome little thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But it makes no sense. Yeah. And it's destined to fail. I just don't see it working. I've seen countless posts of people that have ordered it and it just doesn't work, like with their dongle, or the new dongle won't pick up the signal properly, or the codes that they've been given to download games don't work half the time. Like they've been sent wrong codes, or they've been sent duplicate codes that someone else has already used. It's just an absolute cluster. It's an omni-shambles.
It's pretty bad. I mean, the things that I've seen is that the people that get them and they work, they've got like 300 megabits per second internet.
Yeah, and 4K TVs.
And it still looks like it's running at 720.
Well, I heard that some of the games are hard locked to 30 frames per second, which I don't have an issue with it. Yeah. I don't have an issue with it. But the people who this console seems to be aimed at, because that's the other thing, I can't tell who they've aimed this monstrosity at, but the people that they appear to have aimed it at are the people who do have 4K TVs and these super high fast fiber connections. They are not going to be happy. They're the sort of people that aren't going to be happy with games hard locked at 30 frames per second. They spend thousands upon thousands on their entertainment and on their TVs and everything. They're going to want their games to look as crisp and as powerful as possible, and if it's hard coded to that level, yeah, there's game over, and that's their target audience. So I don't know what they're doing.
That's an interesting thought. As far as that's their demographic, because I never really saw that as their demographic. I saw it as kind of casuals, because it's not super expensive.
No,
which is great. It's not. It's quite easily accessible. And it's kind of one of those pick up and play things where it's just like a controller and a dongle.
Well, here's the other problem that I've seen that's come up a fair few times with this, and it's not as simple as what they made it out to be. So when they originally advertised this thing, it was this is literally a put the dongle in your TV, get the controller, and off you pop. And quick as a flash, it can be playing on your phone, and quick as a flash, it can be playing on a tablet or wherever you want it to.
Is it not working like that?
No, well, the instructions come for setup actually way more than just put a dongle in and then off you pop, like they've said it would be. They were trying to be transparent and say, yeah, it's going to be that simple. It's not. It's nowhere near that simple by the looks of it. Half the time you can't get your controller connected and all sorts of rubbish. Like, apparently when it works at its full potential, like some people have got it to do, it's a good experience, because you are just playing it through a browser, and apparently it's quite amazing to see the lack of input lag on most of the games, and how well they run and how well they look. And some people have been able to get it to seamlessly transition between their phone to their TV to then their PC.
This is the problem. You used the phrase "some people."
Yeah, that's it.
If it doesn't work for everybody, then it's not a good experience. And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. Not super. Moustache Junior points out, not super expensive. The costs incurred by the Stadia are the price of the controller and the newest Chromecast. Subscription to access the games you own, buying the game themselves. Yeah, it becomes expensive, but they were marketing it like it wasn't expensive. That was the point I was trying to get out, because they were like, well, it's only going to be, what is it, $130?
Something like that.
Something like that. And I remember looking at it thinking, well, that's not too bad, because an Xbox One X is like, $400.
Yeah, I mean, look, the price isn't bad, but I think a lot of people,
when you get the subscriptions, they're selling old games at full price.
Yeah. I mean, it's that old chestnut of physical versus digital media again. And, you know, I have been the one on this channel to really sort of stick up for digital media. I'm not saying it's better or worse than physical media. I'm just saying it's a medium of playing games, and you just have to accept it for what it is, because that's the way that the world is moving in. And I don't think there's enough people that are willing to, you know, put their words where their mouth is, essentially, put their money where their mouth is, and stand up for physical media to the extent where the companies are going to change their mind. I just don't believe that's going to happen. But they are doing that thing where you're paying for the subscription service, and then the game inside the subscription service that they take away from you, that could take away from you at any point, essentially.
Yes. And
they're old games at that.
Yeah, there's nothing on there that's like super eye-catching as far as anything new.
And like Steam kind of have the PC world nailed down. Like, I mean, there's Epic Game Stores, but no one likes Epic Game Stores, and Good Old Games does their thing, but this doesn't compete directly with Steam.
No.
And Valve have, you know, very wisely sort of sewn that up for themselves, and that's good. So, and that's part of their major audience for this Stadia, is people who PC game, because they are the people that are more interested in these new technologies and the idea of being able to seamlessly transition their game from their PC to the front room on the TV, to on their phone. Like, that's going to be them sorts of people that want it, but they're offering you the same games, but more money for that.
Yeah, it's
and the hardware doesn't work half the time. Like, it's just been an absolute omni-shambles.
That was one of the most embarrassing things. But now we've got to try and work out, now we've kind of highlighted a lot of the problems that we've got with Google Stadia, like everybody's having with Google Stadia. We've got to start looking at some of the other Google flops. Google flops?
Google flops.
Console flops.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's pick one at random that everyone's going to be quite happy about talking about. How can I transition this one well?
What are you thinking?
Okay, I think that the Google Stadia would have been better if it was £95.
£95, that seems like an oddly specific amount.
Yeah, just like the thing that definitely wasn't a flop, the PlayStation Classic.
It's interesting that you've gone with the PlayStation Classic off the bat. It definitely was a flop. It definitely was a flop, absolutely.
People weren't happy. They really weren't happy.
Absolutely, it's a terrible piece of kit, really. It uses a fan-made third-party emulator on it, even though it comes from Sony, which is really bizarre. It looks nice. It's a nice-looking piece of kit. It's just not very good. The game selection was always going to be hit and miss because of how vast the library is. But it was terrible. But the thing that really stood out for the PlayStation and how bad it was, and how bad it was perceived to be by the paying public, is its price reduction in such a quick fashion. Like,
yeah, it went down not quite to £5. I talked about Game Man said that he was going to buy one for, but it did drop pretty quick.
Within 2 months, you could get them for £20. Yeah, brand new.
Yes,
and only a fool would have paid £95 for a brand new one on launch. That seems ridiculous.
What kind of idiot would have done that?
Yeah, it's almost like an idiot who would have that box sitting above his head.
It is right above my head. Yeah, obviously I bought one, and for the 25 minutes of Tekken that I played on it and then went, this is shit, it was interesting.
Yeah.
It was fun to enjoy. It's the first time on this channel that we've managed to buy something kind of brand new and review it as it came out, which was fun. I enjoyed doing that. Was it worth £95? You're goddamn right it was. But I wouldn't do it again.
No, it's not. Certainly not when there's other emulation devices out there. If you can't be bothered to do it yourself, and I totally get that. Like, my pipe dream is, I'm going to buy a Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to do it all properly. I'm just going to have the most ultimate emulation machine.
It'd be nice and cheap. You can get them for like 30, 40 quid with cases.
This is it. I'll just buy a case, but I'll make it myself, program it myself, and it'll be fine. But ultimately, I just cannot be bothered. So I would go out and buy one of these slightly more expensive 60 quid jobbies from Etsy with a really nice case on it with 25,000 games on it from across a broad spectrum of consoles. Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah, it's illegal. Get a grip. Just, sort it out. Just get it. And ultimately, to be fair, like we were talking about PC gamers as well with the digital media thing and paying for these older games. Yeah. A lot of PC gamers are more than happy to download cracked copies of slightly older games.
Yes.
because you can on a PC.
Yes.
And it's free.
Yes.
And there's no things tying you into having to pay it on a certain account. People don't care about that on PC gaming.
No.
So it's that age-old thing where, like I said, it's that thing where why would you pay for this thing when it's a lot cheaper or even free to do it another way? And it doesn't really matter.
Honestly, this was my mistake, so I'm going to move on fairly swiftly and talk about some of the more obvious entries. The Wii U, that was a pretty epic flop. Lots of things led to the downfall of that. Poor marketing is one that comes up quite a lot. Although people do shout at people for saying about the marketing. It wasn't poor marketing, it was the fact that there wasn't any marketing.
No marketing at all. No marketing at all. Stupid name.
Yeah. Oh, terrible name, yeah.
Like, they never made it clear to the audience that it was a new console.
Yeah.
It looked like some sort of updated controller for a Wii. The console looks so similar to a Wii as well that at quick glance you're not going to tell the difference. No. And it wasn't a huge step up in graphical output or computer processing power, really.
I mean, Nintendo's never been up with that sort of thing.
No, and I know that, and I know that's not that important.
But
the games are alright.
In a lot of ways. There are some great games on the Wii U.
The games are alright. There's some really good games on the Wii U.
Yeah, there are.
It just was clear that it just seemed to be really half-arsed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent that a company has done that with. Was it Sega with the Saturn? Where they pretty much released the Saturn and then within a year was like, we're just going to, here's the...
I think that with the Saturn, I think they did end up dropping a bit of support for it, and they kind of openly said that they've got something new coming very early on in the release cycle of the Saturn. I'm pretty sure it was the Saturn.
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember. There's a really good... It's happened before where it's a games company has just turned around and basically gone, yeah, here's this console. It is new, but we're actually looking at this other thing first. This is to tide you over. And I don't think gamers ever like that message. So I think that's how it always fosters that sort of...
Yeah, which is kind of what happened with the 32X and the Mega CD.
Yeah, you see, I owned a Mega CD.
Yeah, you were one of the, 7 people in this country that actually bought one.
Well, it was second hand. I didn't get it brand new. I was poor as anything.
Well, you wouldn't want one brand new anyway.
No. But it was a terrible system. Like, it's got a really small library, and a really small proportion of those games in that library are actually any good. Like, that's like, and it's just a bit whack. Like, it was novel of them to try and at that time try and get on board with the whole CD-ROM based gaming and using CDs as a method of delivering the games and stuff like that. That's admirable.
But the thing is, they didn't even they didn't really it didn't do enough with CD to make it worthwhile owning one.
No, I mean, no, there wasn't enough on there to warrant owning one. I mean, like, you look at some of the games that come out on it. Sonic CD is one of the best Sonic games. Like, so that does have that going for it. Sonic CD is one of the best Sonic games. Yeah. It's really, 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 really good. There was a few other games as well. I think there was a Terminator game that was mildly decent on it. I think there was a few other bits, but there's always the games that I think about, like Night Trap was on there. Yeah,
see, but Night Trap's one of those games where I don't feel like it was as popular at the time
as
what it is now. That's the problem.
It wasn't, and it's never been good. You can't play Night Trap and tell me it's good.
I could. I would be lying.
Yeah.
But I could.
I had a Sherlock Holmes game that was really quite pony on it as well. That I actually kind of enjoyed it because I'm a bit of a dweeb, and it was all about reading like newspaper entries and stuff. But I could see how, to anyone that wasn't me... and
what did you do with your Mega CD? Oh, I was reading newspapers.
From 1800s London, so I could work out who poisoned Mrs. Farrow. That's why I was reading them.
Yeah.
But like, I think there was an awful Dracula game on it as well. There was an awful White Men Can't Jump game on there as well. There was so many bad games, and the main thing that they promoted was the utilisation of full motion video, which obviously at the time was a big deal.
Yeah, people are shouting out Final Fight.
I never played Final Fight on it, but
Batman game.
Yeah, Snatcher I never played. Terminator. Yeah, I had that one.
Again, personally, Snatcher's not very good. My opinion.
No, I've not played it. I don't know. I don't know for certain. It's just, it is what it is. And I never owned a 32X. I'd only ever seen one in the flesh when Rich had one at his house, obviously my introduction really to the 32X was Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah, it's the Tower of Power, isn't it?
Yeah, and I actually kind of like it. People go, oh, it was so stupid. They kept adding these add-ons for a console. I kind of liked it. I think that's kind of cool. I have to admit, I kind of think that's kind of cool. Where they're like, here's your console, and for a little bit more, you can chuck this on the top, and it plays these awesome games.
The problem was it wasn't a little bit more.
I know.
It wasn't a little bit more. It was like the console again. And this was the problem. Add-ons don't work. People like new. They don't like bolt-ons. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing that happened with the Nintendo 64 DD.
Yeah.
The disc drive system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just didn't want... It wanted to work.
Yeah.
But didn't, because it's an add-on. If that was a separate console, it probably would have done considerably better. Like, it would have at least got a release outside of Japan, for example.
I don't know if I can agree with you, because the Sega Mega CD originally started as a bolt-on.
Mm-hmm.
And they did release a standalone Sega Mega CD. I had the standalone Sega Mega CD. I didn't have the bolt-on version.
Okay.
And that improved its sales by nothing, by a negligible amount. It didn't do anything.
But that's because they waited too long.
I don't think it was that long. I don't think it was that long. I mean, I'm willing to be corrected on it. I'm pretty sure there's not that big a gap between the two. And it just, I think a bad console is a bad console at the end of the day. Like, I don't hear anyone clamouring for more Mega CD, and I don't hear anyone clamouring for more DDS for Nintendo or for 64. I don't.
I hear people screaming about the disc drive on the 64.
Yeah.
They're like, I want it so much. Why aren't all of these half-made games out? Why can't we get them? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
I think we should talk about one that is huge and synonymous with this, but will probably anger a few people in chat, so I think we should go for it. The Dreamcast. Dreamcast.
See, I wouldn't have described the Dreamcast as a flop.
But it was the ultimate flop.
It wasn't.
Here's why it's the ultimate flop.
It tied the noose for Sega.
That's why it's the ultimate flop.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, yeah.
It was the reason. I mean, and Sega had a lot of mismanagement. We know that. It's well documented. Sega of America and Sega of Japan never coexisted properly. For some reason, despite being under one company. Like, I don't understand how that could be allowed to happen in the way they was. But obviously, you had all the debacle with the Saturn not being fully supported, and then they coming out with the Dreamcast. And the Dreamcast, I'm not saying the Dreamcast is necessarily a bad console, I'm not saying that at all, but it was good enough to save the company, and arguably it cost them their existence as a console manufacturer. And Sega was such a huge name in consoles. It was like Atari going again, but without a video game crash that precipitated it.
Like the North American video game crash.
Yeah, like Atari only disappeared because of the North American video game crash.
Which actually also discounts Canada because they
right. But, you know, I mean, what I'm talking about mainly rather than the crash is the fact that Atari was such a huge company in the gaming, and they just disappeared. And that hadn't happened for a while until Sega. It's happened to Sega. And Sega obviously stuck around a bit more than what Atari have, and obviously are now working under Nintendo. And so you're always seeing them characters and them games come back. But that was the last thing that we got from as a console from Sega.
Proper hardware release,
yeah. It's harsh.
I mean, you have to count that as the biggest flops, I suppose. Although I liked it, and again, it was the last home arcade machine. Do you know what I mean? Everything else from then on turned into less arcadey feel, which it needs to be really shouted for and kind of championed. But it has to be a flop if it killed off an entire company.
I don't think it killed
Popular company.
Yeah, I don't think it killed it off on its own necessarily.
No, it didn't.
But I think it was the last big punch that it received.
Well, again, it finished tying the noose and handed it to Sega.
That's what I think it kicked. I think he kicked the stool away. Like, that's unfortunately so. And that's it. I'm not saying it's a bad console. It did a lot of things right. There's some really, really good games on it. Yeah. Like, there really is. But it killed Sega. You did. Bastard.
I mean, there are other flops that I think that we need to talk about. One of my favourite flops of all time. I've got two favourite flops.
You love flops.
It's sometimes required.
Thumb in this flop then, come on.
Okay, I'm going to thumb in this flop. The Virtual Boy.
Yeah, well, it's the flop, isn't it?
It's the flop.
Right.
This is like the biggest flop ever, really, of something that had the potential to be very, very good. It's new technology.
Mm-hmm.
It was exciting. It was different. It's fun. Perfect.
It gave you concussion-like symptoms. It was unwieldy. There was no comfortable way of playing it. It was massive.
Oh, God, it was neck ache.
It was massive. It had
wasn't
two
that big.
colours available. It is big.
It's like this big.
No, it's like that on your head.
It's like this big, but it's got a tripod, so you don't have to hold it.
You have to gaffer tape it to your head.
You don't. It's got a tripod. You can just like this,
right?
And then it causes severe neck pain.
Exactly. It displays red and black.
That looks chic.
Sheet is how it's pronounced. Sheet. It's not chic.
It's an interesting system. The way that it works is cool. It's fun to play on. I played for around 20 minutes on the trot, and it hurt my neck.
Hurt your neck? Did you get double vision?
No, I was fine.
Did your eyes bleed?
No, like physically everything was fine, apart from the kind of pain in the top of my back and neck, which was quite upsetting for a while.
It's just terrible. It's terrible. It had about 8 games released for it. It had a cool Street Fighter.
22.
Who gives a...
That and the Street Fighter game that was made afterwards by a third party.
How ironic that it's 22, and that is the amount of games.
23.
That was the amount of games that come out for Stadia on launch.
I'm sure it's about 22, 23 games that were over the entire lifespan of the system, which was remarkably low. My other...
And it only... Right.
Sorry,
biggest
back
thing.
to this.
It only competed against itself. Game Boy owned the bloody handheld market at that point. Like, you can bang on about your Nomads and your Game Gears and your Neo Geo Pockets all you want. Some of them are good consoles, some of them are shocking. But the Game Boy dominated handheld gaming, and Nintendo have always dominated handheld gaming.
Yeah.
So it was competing against itself, and it kicked its own arse.
Well, it wasn't super handheld.
No, it wasn't. It was marketed as go down the park with this. Go down the park with it. What are you going to do? Mug someone with it? It's a bat.
You can go down the park with it
and look like a complete turd.
Top Hat played it at the Grand Canyon.
He's a diddler. He would.
Yeah, he's a bit of an idiot. But again, it was a cool thing, but it did flop massively. I'm not sure. I'd be interested to know how much it cost the company, because obviously this was big technology at the time. That'd be interesting to find out.
What's your next one?
The other one that I really, really like is the N-Gage. I had an N-Gage.
I had an N-Gage.
I really liked it. Did you have the original model?
Yes.
Yeah, like the big silvery one.
Yeah.
Loved it. Played Tomb Raider on it. Loads.
Yeah, that's what I played.
Yeah, Tomb Raider's the one.
Tomb Raider in this weird first-person game that I can only remember. The only level I can remember is where you're in a train station. First-person shooty kind of game.
Oh,
I think there was a FIFA as well that I played a bit on it.
I didn't play that.
But it flopped massively because it was just so gimmicky. You had to use it as a phone, and it was primarily a phone. Yeah, you had to have it on its side, so it was coming out of your head.
Yeah, like, it was weird.
It wasn't flat against your head, nice and comfortable. It was like out on the side, and it was just weird, and it just was shot. I remember Choice Video selling them for some reason more than anywhere else.
Where I bought mine.
I think I might have got mine from Choice Video.
Yeah,
like it was so weird. It was marketed at gamers. And the games just weren't good enough, and the screen wasn't good enough for what it was trying to achieve either. At that point in time, you know.
Yeah, I remember struggling with Tomb Raider on it a lot. You couldn't see enough.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's
you end up playing it almost like a Virtual Boy, actually, where you're like this.
Yeah,
trying to see. I mean, it was the birth of real mobile gaming.
No, birth of real mobile phone gaming, let's be honest. Yeah. Mobile gaming is, I'd say Game Boys and things like that.
Well, it's handheld.
Yeah, but that's mobile.
I mean, like proper mobile game where you can have a mobile with games on, like proper games.
Yeah.
Not just Snake.
And it was Akari Warrior, Dermot just pointed out. You have to take the battery out to change the game.
Yes, you did. That was rectified in later models, but obviously it had already kind of died a death, and people hated it so much by that point that they literally just went, nah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it another shot.
No, it was good because it had really good Bluetooth capability at the time. I think it was Bluetooth, and we used to just share videos, and that was where you first saw like those early Insta video nasties on a phone, like the first ever phone nasties. So like the woman getting rogered by a horse and all that sort of thing.
Oh, for goodness sake, why did we bring that up? I knew that was what you were going to talk about.
No, that's because that's what happened. That's what those things were for. They were sharing the video nasties for phones at the time.
For fuck's sake. Yeah, that is exactly what happened. And yeah, sad times.
I think it's hard to talk about flops in gaming without one that actually affected me, but I never purchased it. I just was waiting to see how good it was going to be, and then it just come out and was so terrible. And someone on this channel loves it.
Go.
It's the Ouya.
Oh god, yeah. The Ouya is a very strange thing because it was essentially a home like you had all through the 90s. You had consoles trying to be in early 2000s. You had consoles trying to mimic the arcade. And then you had the Ouya come out a little bit later on, and it was a home console trying to mimic a mobile phone.
It was so bizarre.
Why? Why was that a thing? Why was it the amount of money that it cost when it came out? Why is the controller so unwieldy? Why is it a stupid box? Why?
I liked how small it was. Just saying, it's like that big. It's like that big.
Well, it bodes well for me that small things impress you.
Not them sorts of things.
Anyway, it's just an annoying thing.
That
on mobile, most mobile games are free. On Ouya, they're all like £3. And £3 doesn't seem like a lot of money. But when you're only playing them for like 5 minutes at a time, it's a home console.
Yeah, and it's terrible.
You don't want to be, you'd have to get 20 or 30 of them to get a day's gaming out.
That was what we ended up streaming the Ouya. So we kind of had
Sadly.
first-hand experience of trying to demonstrate what it's like to play games on it. I think we only found like 2 games that were ever worth playing.
And one of them was Saturday Morning RPG, which you can get
on Steam,
and everywhere else,
and on lots of other things. I think it's on the Switch, isn't it? I think as well.
Yeah, on Switch.
So it was that and a kart racing game that was just like an indie kart racer with like indie game characters in it. It was really weird. It was like their version of Street Racer and stuff.
Didn't play as well as what it looked like.
No. And what was awful was we had the top hat gaming man who bothered to turn up at that point, and he would just bang on about how good the Ouya was, and we're going to have a fantastic stream. And honestly, it was one of the most horrible streams we've ever done.
It was awful. It was really miserable.
Awful.
I mean, I can think of some worse ones, but it was up there. But we're not talking about the worst streams ever. We're talking about where the Google Stadia sits. The thing that I think the Google Stadia's got going for it, okay, and why I don't super think that we can say that it is 100% a flop yet, okay? There is one thing that the Stadia has got that all of the things that we've spoken about previous to this haven't got and never have.
What's that?
The opportunity for continued updates.
True.
It can be released terrible, which most things are nowadays, and they can work on a patch and send it out. And then once it's gone, it's improved, and then it turns into something good. I think that the technology that was required for it is possibly it's probably come out maybe 5 or 6 years too early. Yeah. In 5 or 6 years' time, bear in mind that it's Google that are backing it, and they have an unlimited supply of money. In 5 or 6 years' time, it could be something that's worth owning. Yeah,
I can agree with that.
I think it's got the potential to be one of the biggest flops ever. Although it is a console that hasn't really entered the market before as a serious contender for up-to-date games.
No,
with Google, they're a new contender here,
brand new.
So for a first entry, it's got lots of people talking about it. That's more than what a lot of consoles do.
Not for the right reasons, though. Not for
As
the right
Top Hat
reasons.
Gaming Man, who was propped in to say hello.
I know we mentioned the Ouya and he just jumps right in.
Yeah, it's almost like he heard me saying it.
I think we should sum up by saying it's too early to say definitively where the Stadia ranks on gaming flops.
It's probably around the middle somewhere as it stands.
It could definitely be up there on a list of worst gaming launches of all time for games and consoles combined, which could be another list that we do.
It can move.
Yeah, it's got potential to move. It's not pigeonholed these places like these other consoles are.
Yeah.
What we would like you to do, though, is if you think of any gaming flops that we've missed, and there are a ton of them, we had more written down that we didn't talk about.
Yep.
Please give us a comment below. It'd be great to hear what you think is the worst gaming flops of all time. Console flops specifically, I'd say, but if there's games as well. And so if you didn't agree with this, if you really want us to say, no, the Ouya was awesome, or you were too harsh on the N-Gage, or, Dreamcast, how dare you besmirch the Dreamcast, and I'm sure there's going to be enough Sega fanboys that do that. Just give us a comment, and we might read them.
We will read them.
Yeah.
We'll try and reply.
Yeah. Depends on how pissed off I am.
Well-constructed arguments.
It depends on how pissed off I am at the time.
Yeah, you get quite pissed off, don't you?
Yeah, and then you get something back.
Orb's having a bad day if you get a reply.
That's it. That's how you can tell. It's never a good thing.
Anyway, so we're about to head over to twitch.tv/Top Hat Chat, where we are going to be playing something.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet.
Yeah, we've left it really last minute.
Yeah, we have really left it.
Okay, while I talk to the rest, you make a decision. Ready?
All right.
So you can find us at all the usual places. We are over on Instagram. Just search for Top Hat Chat. Our Twitter handles are at the bottom of the screen, just down here. We do have a Patreon, but we don't really use it. You don't have to give us any money. It's fine. And yeah, as I said, we're over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Top Hat Chat. If you haven't made an account already, what are you waiting for? It takes about 30 seconds, and it is free to give us a follow over there. You'll get notified of all of our future streams, and you get to sit and chat with us for extended periods of time, which hopefully sounds like a good idea. Who knows? Have you made a decision yet?
No.
Okay, we're going to do it in a minute. But yeah, thank you so much for your time this evening, and we'll see you next time. Catch you later.